You have been bleeding power your entire life, and you never even noticed the wound. Every time you responded to someone who did not deserve your words, you handed them a piece of yourself. Every time you explained yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, you gave them control over your emotions. This is the truth that weak men never learn and powerful men never forget. Your attention is not free. It is the most expensive currency you possess. And you have been spending it on people who would not cross the street to save your life. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. The prince who chases is the prince who falls. Tonight you learn the art that separates kings from beggars, the cold and calculated mastery of ignoring people. And once you understand this, no one will ever control you again. The philosophy of silence. Why Machiavelli never chased. Niccolò Machiavelli watched empires rise and fall from the shadows of Florence. He studied princes, popes, and generals. He dissected power like a surgeon dissects a body. And in all his observations, one truth echoed louder than any battle cry. The man who chases loses. The man who withdraws conquers. You see, Machiavelli never believed in fairness. He believed in results. And the results always showed that those who withheld their presence became magnetic, while those who gave it freely became forgettable. The prince who responded to every insult was seen as insecure. The prince who answered every critic was seen as defensive. But the prince who sat in silence, who let his enemies scream into the void, that prince was feared because silence is not emptiness. Silence is a statement. It says that you are beneath my response. It says that your existence does not warrant my energy. It says that I am operating on a level you cannot reach. This is why Machiavelli advised leaders to be like the fox and the lion. The fox is clever enough to know which traps to avoid. The lion is strong enough to know which battles are beneath him. Most men today are neither. They are dogs chasing every car that passes, barking at every stranger, exhausting themselves for nothing. You will not be that man. You will learn that power is not loud. Power is quiet. Power does not explain itself. Power does not justify itself. Power simply exists and the world adjusts to it. When you master the philosophy of silence, you stop playing games others have designed for you. You create your own game. And in your game, the only way to win is to never react at all. The psychology of being ignored. What happens inside their mind? Let me show you what happens inside the mind of someone you ignore. This is dark psychology at its purest. When you refuse to acknowledge someone, their brain enters a state of panic. Neuroscience calls it social rejection, and it activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. They feel it in their chest, they feel it in their stomach, and they cannot escape it. The person you ignore will replay every interaction, searching for answers. They will wake up at night wondering what they did wrong. They will craft messages they never send. They will rehearse conversations that will never happen. You have become a ghost that haunts their thoughts. This is the power you hold when you simply look away. The human mind cannot tolerate being dismissed. We are wired for connection, for validation, for response. When you deny someone this basic need, you create an obsession. They will try harder to reach you. They will change their behavior hoping to get a reaction. They will question their own worth. And all of this happens while you do absolutely nothing. This is not cruelty for the sake of cruelty. This is understanding the mechanics of the human psyche and using them strategically. Weak men beg for attention. Strong men weaponize its absence. When you ignore someone who has wronged you, you do not give them closure. Closure is a gift and they have not earned it. Instead, you leave them in psychological limbo, forever wondering, forever doubting, forever smaller than they were before they crossed you. This is the cold truth of power. The greatest punishment is not revenge. The greatest punishment is irrelevance, and you deliver it simply by treating them as if they do not exist. The art of strategic withdrawal. How to disappear without leaving. There is a difference between being absent and being strategically withdrawn. Absence is weakness. Withdrawal is power. The master of this art learns to be physically present yet emotionally unreachable. He sits in the room but his energy is elsewhere. He looks at you but he sees through you. This is not something you fake. This is something you become. Strategic withdrawal means you choose where your presence goes. You do not scatter yourself across every conversation, every argument, every petty drama that begs for your involvement. You conserve yourself like a weapon that is only drawn when victory is certain. Most men exhaust themselves being available. They answer every call. They reply to every message. They engage with every provocation. And in doing so, they become common. Common is the enemy of power. When you are always accessible, you have no value. When you are selectively absent, you become rare. And what is rare is always desired. Practice this with ruthless consistency. Let calls go unanswered. Let messages sit unread. Let people wonder where you are and what you are doing. The mystery you create is more powerful than any words you could speak. Emotional unavailability is not about being cold for the sake of cruelty. It is about protecting your inner world from those who have not earned access. Your thoughts, your energy, your attention. These are sacred territories. Only those who prove themselves worthy should be allowed entry. Everyone else meets the wall, and here is the secret. Most will never understand. The less you give, the more they want. The more you withdraw, the harder they chase. You are not disappearing, you are ascending. And from your elevation, the noise below becomes quieter, smaller, and ultimately meaningless. Enemies, critics, and noise. The people who deserve your silence. Not everyone deserves your words. Most people do not even deserve your silence. They deserve nothing. Learn to identify the people who should be erased from your attention entirely. The first are your enemies. These are the ones who actively work against you. They want your downfall. They whisper behind your back and smile to your face. Machiavelli taught that a prince must know his enemies, but never give them the satisfaction of acknowledgement. When you respond to an enemy, you elevate them. You tell the world that they matter enough to disturb your peace. But when you ignore them completely, you strip them of their power. They become shadows fighting against the sun. The second are the critics. These are the voices that exist only to tear down what others build. They create nothing. They contribute nothing. They are spectators screaming from the cheap seats while you play the game. Responding to critics is the fastest way to shrink yourself to their level. Let them talk. Let them scream. Their words dissolve into air while your actions carve stone. The third are the energy vampires. These are the ones who drain you with their constant problems, their endless drama, their need for validation. They disguise themselves as friends, but they are parasites feeding on your attention. Cut them off without explanation. You owe them nothing. Here is what you must understand. Every reaction you give to unworthy people is energy stolen from your purpose. Every moment spent on their noise is a moment stolen from your greatness. The powerful man does not fight every battle. He selects his wars with precision and lets the rest burn out on their own. Your silence is not passive. Your silence is the loudest statement you can make. The discipline of indifference. Training yourself to feel nothing. Ignoring people is easy to understand but difficult to execute. Your emotions will betray you if you let them. The insult will sting. The disrespect will burn. Every fiber of your being will scream for you to react, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. This is where weak men fail. They know the strategy, but they cannot control the feeling. You must train yourself to feel nothing. This is not about suppressing emotion. This is about transcending it. The Stoics called it apatheia, a state where external events cannot disturb your inner fortress. Machiavelli called it vert, the cold mastery over oneself that allows a man to act with precision rather than passion. Begin with small provocations. When someone disrespects you, pause, breathe, let the anger rise, and then let it pass through you without action. Do not clench your fists. Do not change your expression. Become stone. Practice this daily until indifference becomes your default state. The man who cannot control his reactions is a puppet. Anyone can pull his strings. Anyone can manipulate his emotions. He is predictable, exploitable, weak. But the man who has mastered indifference is untouchable. You can insult him and he will look at you like you are speaking a foreign language. You can betray him and he will simply remove you from his life without drama. He does not need to prove anything because his power is internal. This discipline is not natural. It must be forged through repetition, through failure, through constant self-correction. There will be days when you slip. There will be moments when your emotions win. But each time you regain control, you become stronger. Each time you choose silence over reaction, you add another layer to your armor. Eventually, nothing can penetrate it. Power dynamics and social chess. Controlling the game without moving. Every human interaction is a chess game. Most people do not realize they are playing. They move impulsively, emotionally, without strategy. They react to every attack and defend every square, and they lose. The master of power understands that the greatest moves are often no moves at all. When you ignore someone strategically, you force them to make the next move. You put them in a position where they must come to you, explain themselves to you, seek your approval. The dynamic shifts entirely. In relationships, the one who cares less holds the power. This is not cynicism. This is reality. When you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, when you stop seeking validation, you become the center of gravity. Others begin to orbit around you. In business, the man who appears unaffected by negotiation wins the negotiation. Desperation is visible. Neediness is visible. But calm indifference signals that you have options, that you do not need this deal, that you can walk away without losing sleep. This is how fortunes are made. In social hierarchies, The person who does not seek approval rises above those who do. While others compete for attention, you stand apart. While others gossip and engage in petty conflicts, you remain above the noise. People will notice, people will wonder, and people will respect what they cannot understand. This is social chess at its highest level. You do not win by capturing every piece. You win by controlling the board with minimal effort. You win by making others exhaust themselves while you conserve your energy. You win by being the player who cannot be rid, cannot be predicted, cannot be manipulated. The game is always being played. The only question is whether you are the chess master or the pawn. The danger of caring too much. When attention becomes your chain. Here is the trap that destroys most men. They care too much about what others think. They wake up wondering if people like them. They go to sleep replaying conversations, analyzing every word, searching for signs of approval or rejection. This is slavery disguised as social awareness. When you care about the opinions of others, you hand them the keys to your mind. They can make you happy with a compliment. They can destroy you with an insult. Your entire emotional state becomes dependent on external validation. You are no longer a free man. You are a prisoner begging for scraps of approval from people who do not even think about you when you leave the room. Machiavelli warned against this weakness. A prince who seeks to be loved by everyone will be loved by no one. A prince who fears being hated will make decisions based on fear rather than strategy. The need for approval is the death of power. Dark psychology reveals why this happens. From childhood, we are programmed to seek validation. Parents reward us for good behavior. Teachers praise us for correct answers. Society conditions us to measure our worth through the eyes of others. Breaking this programming is one of the hardest things you will ever do. But it is necessary. The man who does not need approval cannot be controlled. You cannot bribe him with praise. You cannot threaten him with criticism. He operates from an internal compass that does not waver based on popular opinion. This is true freedom. Start by catching yourself when you seek validation. Notice when you change your words to please others. Notice when you hesitate because you fear judgment. Each time you catch yourself, you weaken the chain. Each time you act without seeking approval, you move closer to liberation. Caring too much is not sensitivity, it is weakness. The powerful man cares deeply about his purpose, his mission, his legacy. But he does not care at all about the opinions of those who are irrelevant to his path. Learn the difference and you will break chains you did not even know you were wearing. Becoming untouchable. The final transformation. Everything you have learned leads to this moment. The philosophy, the psychology, the discipline, the strategy, all of it converges into one singular transformation. You are becoming untouchable. This is not arrogance. This is architecture. You are building a version of yourself that cannot be reached by those who wish to harm you, distract you, or control you. The untouchable man walks differently. He speaks differently. He carries himself with a quiet authority that needs no announcement. People sense it before he says a word. There is something behind his eyes that tells the world he has seen through the illusions that trap ordinary men. He does not compete for attention because he knows attention will find him. He does not argue with fools because he knows silence is the superior weapon. He does not chase validation because he validates himself from within. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is forged through countless moments of restraint. Every time you chose not to respond, you added steel to your spine. Every time you walked away from drama, you elevated your position. Every time you let someone scream into the void of your indifference, you proved that you are beyond their reach. The untouchable man is not cold for the sake of being cold. He is selective. He reserves his warmth for those who have earned it. He reserves his words for moments that matter. He reserves his energy for battles that align with his purpose. Everything else receives nothing. This is the final truth of Machiavellian power. The prince who can be wounded emotionally will eventually be wounded physically. The prince who can be manipulated through his need for approval will eventually be destroyed by those who exploit that need. But the prince who needs nothing from anyone becomes a force that cannot be stopped. You are not becoming heartless. You are becoming sovereign. There is a kingdom inside you that belongs to no one but yourself. Your thoughts are your territory. Your emotions are your subjects. Your attention is your gold, and you decide who enters your gates. From this day forward, you do not react. You respond only when it serves you. You do not explain. You let your results speak. You do not chase. You attract by becoming someone worth chasing. This is the final transformation. This is what it means to be untouchable. The call to power. Your reign begins now. You have sat in the shadows long enough. You have given your energy to people who drained you and received nothing in return. You have explained yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You have chased validation from people who could not validate themselves. That version of you dies tonight. The man who emerges from this moment is different. He carries the wisdom of Machiavelli in his mind and the coldness of strategy in his heart. He understands that attention is currency, and he will never spend it carelessly again. He knows that silence is not weakness but the ultimate display of strength. He recognizes that the art of ignoring people is not about hatred but about self-preservation and dominance. This is your awakening. This is the moment where you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the driver. No more reacting to every provocation like a puppet on strings. No more explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds. No more wasting precious hours on those who would not sacrifice a minute for you. From this day forward, you operate differently. You speak less and observe more. You engage only when it serves your purpose. You let the noise of the world fade into background static while you focus on what truly matters. Your goals, your growth, your legacy. The people who once controlled your emotions will notice the change. They will test you. They will provoke you. They will try everything to pull you back into their games. But you will not be moved. You will look at them with eyes that have seen the truth. And you will give them nothing, not your anger, not your frustration, not even your acknowledgement. They will become ghosts trying to haunt a man who no longer believes in their existence. This is cold power psychology in its purest form. This is Machiavellian mastery applied to modern life. This is the ruthless art of ignoring that separates kings from commoners, victors from victims, legends from the forgotten. You now possess knowledge that most men will never understand. Use it wisely. Use it strategically. Use it to build an empire within yourself that no external force can ever crumble. If this message has ignited something within you, leave a comment below with the words, "I am untouchable." Let the world know that you have chosen power over weakness, silence over noise, sovereignty over slavery. If you found value in these words, strike the like button and show your commitment to this path. Subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss another lesson in power, psychology, and self-mastery. Your reign begins now. Go forth and be untouchable.